we are taking the menu and putting it as a block so that we can put it in the sidebar. It's considered a reusable widget because if I go to another page on my site, that block is still there. All of our block management pages are under the Structured tab, and we can go ahead and click on Blocks. When you look at this page, it's a very, very long page, but it is divided by regions. So we have a header region that has no blocks, a help region that's showing our system help messages. Content region is showing our main page content. And you can actually see our sidebar first. That's showing our search form and our navigation and our user login. And those are blocks that you remember seeing. And each of these regions are theme dependent. Every single theme will define its own set of regions and also determine where those are located. If you're working with a new theme that you're not familiar with the regions, you can go ahead and click on Demonstrate Block Regions. When you click on that link, it's going to show you where your regions are. So our header region is up at the top. We have a featured region, which is a full span of the page. Our sidebar first, our sidebar second, a couple other regions in the center, and then many different footer regions for you to put blocks into. So when you're done, you can click Exit Block Demonstration. A lot of times you will have blocks on your site that you are not currently using, and those will be listed under Disabled. This is not truly a region, but it's just showing you blocks that are created and available for you to use, but you have chose not to place them yet. Blocks are oftentimes created by modules. Sometimes modules will let you create a block within their interface. For example, when we talked about views, we created a page for press releases and a block that showed the 5 most recent titles of press releases. And when we created that block, it became available to us on this block administration page, but it's disabled. So let's go ahead and enable it. To enable a block, all you need to do is place it in a region. Let's place it in sidebar first. As soon as you select that, it actually jumps up to where it's to that region area. It's highlighted in yellow with a little asterisk letting you know that you need to save your changes on this page before you leave this page if you want them to take effect. So we can go ahead and we click Save Blocks. Now let's take a look. When we close our overlay, you can see we have now recent press releases showing. We are able to edit the view, the code that was actually creating this listing, or configure the block directly in place. So if I click on Configure Block, there's a couple things that we can change here. First off is the block title. If a module is defining the block, it has already defined what the title is. You can change that display, or you can choose to not display a block title at all by typing in None. Other options include, where do you want this block placed? We had already selected the sidebar first, and this is just showing us what our previous choice was. I did mention that regions are very theme specific. When we have chosen to place this block in the Bartik theme. So that means when I'm on an administrative page which uses a different theme, that block will not display. So it's only front facing if I choose to only put it in where it says Bartik, or whatever the name of your current theme is. Great things about blocks is you can actually set up some rules about when you want blocks to display. The most common is to set up rules based on the URL. So I can say, please show on all pages except, or you can say, I only want it to show on this page. For our example, let's show our block on all pages except for the press release page. So I just go ahead and I type the relative URL. Press releases was the name of the URL we assign to that view page. We also can use wildcards. I could say press releases asterisk, and that would mean that every page, even the ones with the pager item, which does give arguments to the URL, all of those pages would be included. So the wildcard character is totally usable for something like this. If I want press releases and then any other page that has that as the beginning text. You could say, please show this block only for certain content types, only for certain roles. This could be handy if you have a block that you only want to show to your administrators with some special information about how they can better manage the site. And also you could give your users the power to decide if they want to see a block or not. If you're building a social site where maybe you have 15 blocks that have information about what other people on the site are doing, you can actually let all of your members decide if they want to see this block or not. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. Because I edited in place using the contextual link, it goes and brings me back to where I was. If I want to create my own custom block, I can do that as well. We'll go back to Structure, Blocks, and there's an action item at the top, and we'll go ahead and we'll click Add Block. First question is block title. Let's do Employee of the Month. The block description is purely an administrative text. It is very important, especially if your block title is not going to be making much sense to an administrator, to go ahead and put something very, very meaningful here. In our case, we can actually use the same as our title because it makes sense that way. Now we have our block body. I'm going to announce that Sally is the employee of the month and go ahead and put that text in. Because I'm using filtered HTML, I know that I can use the HTML strong to make the word Sally bold. Region settings. Where do I want my new block to go? So for my default front-facing theme, I'm going to go ahead and put this block under the featured region. And I do want this to show only on the front page. Now the front page is kind of a weird URL because we put our paths in as relative paths and there is nothing after the base URL. So anytime we want something to display or not display on the front page, we use the little triangle brackets and just say front, and Drupal will know exactly how to interpret that. So let's save our block. I'm going to close the overlay, and now I can see Employee of the Month, and all of my text is right there. If for some reason this is not where I want this block to be placed, no problem. I can go back and configure my block. And so maybe I don't want it in featured. Maybe I want it in highlighted in that region. We'll save our block. And immediately our text is moved. If you recall, I specified that I only want this block to show on the home page. So let's click on a link. So I go to a random node on my site and you can see that block is no longer there. It's only on the home page. So that's how you place blocks that a module has created or you created via another module. And we also talked about you can create your own custom HTML blocks.